Captain Phillips 2013 movie synopsis by Zillur Movies recapped. On March 23, 2009, at a house in Underhill, Vermont, Captain Richard Phillips, Tom Hanks, is packing his luggage, checking his passport, and confirming his itinerary earlier than he heads to the airport along with his spouse Andrea, Catherine Keener. On the way in which, they specific their concern over the altering occasions and questioning how their kids will fare, as they know that it is a lot totally different world than the one they grew up in and it isn't as straightforward to discover a good job. They arrive on the airport, kiss one another goodbye, and Phillips heads inside as Andrea drives away. In the meantime, on the coast of Somalia, a bunch of vans crammed with native mercenaries arrives at Ale, a small village. A younger boy hurries to get up Abdawali Muse, Barkhad Abdi, who's sleeping on the arduous floor inside a rudimentary hut. The boy tells Muse that they're coming. The mercenaries are offended that the villagers have not offered them with any cash for his or her boss, a warlord named Garad, because the earlier week, and they're ordered to get to their boats and go discover one thing. Hufan, Isaac Farah Samatar, is the native village boss. He operates a fishing trawler, the Mom ship, that was hijacked from the Taiwanese the earlier 12 months, and two smaller skiffs which can be used to chase down and hijack massive ocean-going ships. For this journey, Muse and one other skiff chief named Assad, Muhammad Ali, are instructed by Hufan to pick out 3 males every and get their skiffs prepared. The lads all collect round and noisily try to get Muse or Assad to decide on them. If they've a talent and or one thing to make use of for a bribe, they will be extra prone to be chosen. Normally, the bribe is a sprig of the plant often known as khat, which when chewed causes pleasure, lack of urge for food, and euphoria. Muse chooses Bilal, Barkhad Abdurrahman, Elmi, Mahat M. Ali, and a quiet however forceful man named Naji, Faisal Ahmed, for his crew. The opposite Ale villagers are stunned that Muse selected Naji, as he is not from their village. The lads load the skiffs with lengthy home-made ladders, water, and gas, then push the skiffs into the surf and energy them up for the trip out to the Mom ship. Assad tells Muse to remain out of his means, this time. He derogatorily refers to Muse as a skinny rat. Muse clearly does not like Assad and likewise does not respect it when Assad begins ordering his man Elmi round. Captain Phillips arrives on the port of Salalah in Oman and takes command of the MV Maersk Alabama, a business container ship that's residents ported in Norfolk, Virginia. As he makes his means as much as the bridge, he notices that nearly all the ladders, hatches and doorways are unlocked and totally accessible. Phillips says hey to his first mate, Shane Murphy, Michael Chernus, who informs Phillips that their orders name for them to sail via the Gulf of Aden and around the Horn of Africa to Mombasa, Kenya. He additionally offers particulars of their cargo. They're carrying 2,500 tons of business cargo, 200 tons of meals, 166 tons of contemporary water and 250 tons of bunker gas. Cautious of pirate exercise off the coast of Somalia, the Captain Phillips orders Murphy to make sure that all doorways and hatches are locked all through the ship and stored locked, even when in port. After finishing the loading of its cargo, the ship departs on its voyage. Hufan checks the radar on his fishing boat and sees that there's a lot of ships in the primary channel. However, it might be dangerous to try to take one amongst all of the others of the herd. He notices one ship that's separated from the remaining. It is the Maersk Alabama, and that can be their goal. Captain Phillips orders emergency drills to happen at sea so the crew can be as ready as doable ought to one thing occur. Not lengthy after beginning their first drill, Captain Phillips GL glances on the ship's radar display screen and notices 2 small blips. He goes exterior and takes a glance via his binoculars. He returns inside and orders Mr. Murphy to return to the bridge. The captain informs Murphy about 2 approaching skiffs and orders him to contact the U.S. Maritime Emergency to advise them. There isn't any response. Captain Phillips orders the ship to show 5 levels to port to see if the skiffs comply with. They do. Phillips then orders Murphy to contact the UK Maritime Commerce Operations, MTO, to tell them of a doable piracy scenario. The feminine MTO officer tells Phillips to lock down the ship and get the hearth hoses prepared. She advises him to comply with established protocol in coping with any potential pirates, though she suspects these could be fishermen. Phillips tells her the boys approaching usually are not there to fish. The skiffs have gotten shut sufficient for Phillips to see they're armed. Captain Phillips alerts his crew of 20 males and tells them to get to their stations. Realizing the pirates in all probability have a maritime radio, he picks up his personal radio and pretends to contact a army ship, Coalition Warship 237. He masks his voice to signify the fake responding army official. The pirates hear as Phillips first publicizes that the weapons aboard the Maersk Alabama are prepared to be used, after which, because the fake army official, that a helicopter or aircraft can be overhead inside 5 minutes. Assad, Muhammad Ali, believes what he hears on the radio and orders his skiff to show round and give up the chase. Muse, nevertheless, does not consider what he has heard and orders his driver to hurry up. Captain Phillips orders his chief engineer, Mike Perry, David Warshawski, to carry their pace as much as most and to alternately flip to port, then starboard. The wake of the ship created by doing that rocks the smaller boat. However, Muse orders Elmi to push the a lot sooner skiff on at full pace. They're practically to the Maersk Alabama when the engine on the boat offers out, leaving them stranded. Phillips addresses his crew and tells them they're nonetheless going via with their mission as deliberate and that they're going to have to carry out double shifts. A number of crew members are frightened and say they did not signal as much as battle pirates, whom they're satisfied can be returning. They counsel heading additional out to sea to place much more distance between them and the Somali coast. Captain Phillips informs the crew that there are 5 bands of pirates working off the coast and out within the open ocean, to allow them to keep away from them. Due to this fact, the Maersk Alabama will stay on the right track and depend on its superior measurement and established protocol to keep off any pirates. If want be, they will take refuge, lock down, and watch for assist from the army. He advises that if anyone needs to depart, they should wait till they get to Mombasa and fly residents from there. Phillips sends an email to Andrea to maintain her up to date on the voyage, and tells her that he is breaking in a brand new crew and, to keep away from worrying her, that the times are unusual. That night time, Muse and his males work from the mom ship in and try to repair the engine on his boat. The mom ship is constant to comply with the Maersk Alabama. Muse is just not completely happy that Assad selected to surrender the chase earlier. When Assad yells at Elmi to rush up and repair the engine for his crew of ladies, Muse means that Assad give them his engine. Assad says, "Shut up, skinny, you discuss an excessive amount of." Muse responds, "I could also be skinny, however I'm not a coward." This enrages Assad, who factors his gun at Muse's head and calls for that Muse repeat what he simply stated. Muse secretly grabs a close-by wrench, then strikes shortly to knock Assad's gun hand down, then bringing the wretch as much as whack Assad over the top, knocking him out, maybe killing him. The blow prompts Naji to comment that the coward is the primary one within the grave. Muse and his males then take over Assad's boat and, after fixing their broken engine, add it to their new boat, dramatically rising the horsepower. The next morning, Muse and his males are again at sea and are closing quick on the Maersk Alabama once more. Phillips had simply completed showering and known as to the bridge by Murphy, who informs him that one skiff has returned. Phillips orders the crew to their stations and orders evasive maneuvers. He contacts the UK MTO once more and advises that they're underneath pirate assault. MTO says that it's going to contact the army. When the skiff will get inside a number of 100 yards, Phillips orders the hearth nozzles activated to spray outwards. There are massive quantities of firefighting water being sprayed throughout the circumference of the ship. If the small skiff will get too shut, it is going to probably be crammed with water and sink. Muse makes use of his radio to inform Phillips to cease the ship, that he and his males are the Somali Coast Guard and there to assist them they usually need to come on board. When the ship fails to cease, and even decelerate, Muse directs Naji to fireplace his weapon. He then has Elmi steer the boat in direction of a niche within the firewater spray alongside the port aspect of the ship. He then factors his personal rifle and fires at Phillips and one other crew member who are looking at them from the bridge. Phillips had directed Murphy to get all the way down to the primary deck and repair one of many hearth hoses that wasn't working proper and left a niche within the perimeter. Murphy manages to do this, however he is practically shot by Najee within the course of. Phillips then orders Murphy to get all the way down to the engine room and take Cost down there. Phillips then opens up an emergency equipment and extracts two massive crimson flares. He ignites them and directs the flares in direction of the skiff. They simply miss. The firewater does not show to be a deterrent as Bilal unlashes the homemade ladder and with assist from the others is ready to hook it over the aspect of the railing of the cargo ship. Every man, in Flip, then jumps onto the ladder and scurries up the aspect and on board. Captain Phillips orders nearly all of the crew to get all the way down to the engine room, to lock the hatches, break up, and conceal. He tells them to not open the door or come out except they hear him give the key password, supper time. He does not need them to turn into hostages. The pirates shoot away any locks they encounter, together with that on the door of the bridge. They barge in and level their weapons at Phillips and the opposite remaining crew members. Muse approaches Phillips and tells him to loosen up, that no one must get harm, that he and his males are simply there on Enterprise and as soon as they receives a commission, everything can be okay. Muse asks Phillips the place the ship is from. Najee is ecstatic when the captain tells them the ship is American. Muse asks Phillips the place he is from. Phillips tells him he is an Irishman from America. Muse decides he'll name Captain Phillips, Irish, from then on. Muse publicizes that he's the captain now, then asks what kind of supplies the ship is carrying, apart from meals and water. Phillips tells Muse that there's $30,000 within the ship's protected and he can have it if he and his males will go away. Muse acts insulted and says, $30,000? Do I appear like a beggar? Really, Muse might very nicely have been tempted to take the cash and run. However he knew that will by no means be acceptable to Garad. The facility to the ship goes down all of a sudden. The chief engineer had flipped the primary swap off, and the emergency energy kicks on. Muse calls for to know what is going on. Phillips tells him the ship has damaged for some unknown motive. Muse walks alongside the management panel, randomly poking at switches and buttons, which makes Najee very nervous and he tells Muse to cease. Muse needs to know the place the remainder of the crew is. Phillips feigns ignorance and says he does not know the place there, that he has been engaged on the bridge. Muse tells Phillips that nobody will get harmed so long as he does not attempt to play video games with him. Muse tells Phillips to order his crew to come back to the bridge, then decides to talk to them himself, through the intercom. He publicizes that if the remainder of the crew does not come out of hiding, he'll start taking pictures these on the bridge, one man each minute. Muse directs Najee to seize Officer Ken Quinn, Corey Johnson, and put together to shoot him within the head after 1 minute goes by. Phillips pleads with Muse that if he should shoot anybody, he should shoot him, since he is the captain. Phillips confronts Muse and asks him if that is how he conducts a Enterprise transaction, by killing individuals. Muse ponders that and decides to go looking the ship as an alternative of killing anybody. That disappoints Najee, who strongly believes in doing no matter appears essential to get what they need as shortly as doable. Along with his thumb secretly holding down the radio transmit button on his walkie-talkie, Phillips tells Muse that looking out the ship can be high quality, so long as they do not lose their emergency energy, inflicting the ship to go utterly darkish. Muse tells Phillips that he needs no video games through the seek for the crew. Murphy catches on to the captain's trace concerning the ship's lighting and directs Perry to stand up to the primary deck and shut off the emergency energy, whereas he goes to the galley to get them some meals and water. Bilal and Muse go along with Phillips to seek for the crew. Phillips suggests they conduct the search of the ship from the highest down. However, Muse shortly catches on to his tactic, and after perusing a diagram of the ship, he directs Phillips to take them to the engine room, which he figures is the supply of the ships being damaged. Alongside the way in which Muse permits for a cease on the galley to get some water, as it is going to be sizzling within the engine room. By then, Murphy was already within the galley and has to shortly take cowl when he hears them coming. Murphy avoids detection and after Phillips, Muse and Bilal have moved on, He makes use of his radio to name his crew within the engine room to warn them that the search celebration is on the way, in which he additionally advises that one of many pirates, Bilal, is barefoot and to unfold some damaged glass on the entrance to the engine room. When the search celebration reaches the engine room, Bilal steps via the door first and proper onto the damaged glass, severely reducing his foot. Muse directs him to proceed on. Nonetheless, whereas it is apparent that Bilal is bleeding an excessive amount of to proceed, so Muse orders him to take Phillips again to the bridge and ship Naji down. In the meantime, Muse continues the search alone. Among the crew members ambush Muse. Throughout the wrestle, Muse cuts his hand on a knife one of many males was wielding. The crew then radio the pirates on the bridge to inform them that they've Muse and they'll trade him for Captain Phillips and a promise that the pirates will take the $30,000 and go away. Muse is ordered to verbally conform to these phrases and to do it over the radio so his males can hear. On the bridge, Naji is opposed. He needs thousands and thousands of dollars, however he is overruled by Muse. Phillips removes the $30,000 from the ship's protected locations it in a bag, and arms it over to the pirates. Naji calls for that Captain Phillips go along with them within the lifeboat. Phillips does not conform to go, however he does enter the lifeboat to point out Elmi how one can function it. In the meantime, the crew has Lance head Muse so he can get into the lifeboat. When Phillips turns to exit the lifeboat, Naji hits him and knocks him down, then slams the door shut. Elmi then releases the lifeboat and it plunges all the way down to the ocean. The United States Bainbridge, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, is at the moment assigned to the counter-piracy process Pressure 151, working within the Mediterranean Sea. The commanding officer, CO, of the Bainbridge, Frank Castellano, Yul Vazquez, is contacted by Admiral Howard and knowledgeable of the hijacking of the Maersk Alabama and subsequent taking of Captain Phillips as a hostage on the lifeboat. Admiral Howard tells the CO he's to proceed west and intercept the lifeboat and pirate mom ship. It is an 820-mile journey. On board the lifeboat, the pirates start arguing. It is sizzling within the lifeboat and there is a lack of cod to chew on. Muse tells Phillips that the boys are usually fishermen, however the large ships got here and took all of the fish from their offshore waters. Phillips provides to deal with Muse's hand and Bilal's foot accidents. Muse refuses remedy however permits Phillips to are likely to Bilal. Phillips talks to Bilal, observing how younger he's and questioning how Bilal obtained himself into this. Phillips applies antibiotic and begins to wrap the foot. He nonchalantly pulls out a knife to chop the bandage, inflicting Elmi to yell out in alarm. Naji grabs the knife away from Phillips and orders Bilal to maneuver away from him. A ScanEagle drone from the Bainbridge locates the lifeboat, the pirate mom ship, and the Maersk Alabama, all inside just a few miles of one another. The crew of the Alabama had determined to comply with the lifeboat and their captain. The crew on the Bainbridge decide that it's going to take about 36 hours for the lifeboat to succeed in Somalia, solely 126 miles away at that time. Admiral Howard tells the Bainbridge CO that the White Home needs a decision to the hostage matter and that two different U.S. ships, the Halliburton, frigate, and Boxer, amphibious assault ship, together with members of SEAL Staff 6, had been being dispatched to help. The Admiral made it clear that if Captain Castellano proved unable to resolve the matter peacefully, the SEALs would care for it. In any occasion, the lifeboat was to not be allowed to succeed in Somalia. Phillips asks for a drink of water, so Bilal will get him some. After he takes a deep drink, Naji sees him and grabs the jug away, telling Bilal that Phillips is to obtain no extra water. Muse retains attempting to radio contact Hufan, however is unsuccessful. Ultimately, Hufan calls him and tells him that the mom ship is experiencing engine hassle and that Garad is just not completely happy that Muse screwed up the mission. Garad was directing that Muse take the lifeboat onto port in Somalia. That additionally seemed to be an effort to protect the mom ship and preserve it from being captured. On the SEAL staging base in Virginia, the members of SEAL Staff 6 board AC-130 for his or her lengthy journey to the west coast of Africa. Muse tells Phillips that final 12 months, he captured a Greek ship and obtained $6 million in ransom. Phillips sarcastically wonders why Muse was attacking his ship if he'd already gotten $6 million for the Greek ship. Muse simply appears to be like at him and tells him to close up. The United States Bainbridge arrives and rudely publicizes itself to the boys on the lifeboat by shining spotlights and blasting its emergency horns. When Muse opens the door to disclose the site of the Bainbridge, Phillips sees it and will get a giant grin on his face. A person calling himself Nemo, Omar Berduni, is on board the Bainbridge. He speaks Somalian and communicates with the pirates, telling them he works for the Navy. He provides them meals and water as a begin to the method of negotiating the return of Captain Phillips. Muse tells Nemo that the demand is $10 million. Nemo tells Muse that it will not be straightforward, however they will talk about it. Sailors from the Bainbridge board the Maersk Alabama to imagine management of the ship. A Lieutenant Hicks tells Murphy that they'll escort the ship to Mombasa and security, assuring them that the Navy will care for the scenario with Captain Phillips. Phillips tells Muse that the Navy is just not there to assist him, nor to barter with him. Naji is suspicious of everything that the individuals say or do, believing their mendacity and setting them up. Nonetheless, Muse agrees to fulfill with the Navy. The CO sends Nemo and plenty of armed males on 2 gunboats over to the lifeboat. Earlier than doing the rest, they need to be sure that Phillips is okay. Muse orders Phillips to the door of the lifeboat to allow them to see he is high quality. Phillips asks the Navy members to contact his household and inform them he is okay, that he is sitting in seat 15 on the lifeboat. The primary of 3 seat quantity mentions that the pirates fail to view suspiciously. Muse pushes Phillips again contained in the lifeboat and continues chatting with Nemo. He refuses the provide of meals and water. He simply needs $10 million. He is additionally upset that a crew member is video recording what's going down. Naji turns into more and more agitated on the course of the dialogue occurring exterior till he raises his pistol, near Phillips's ear, and fires it via the roof of the lifeboat. The gunboats are instantly ordered to tug again, because the CO fears that Phillips may need been shot. Muse shortly contacts the Bainbridge CO and tells him that Phillips is okay, then places Phillips on the radio to verify. Muse tells the CO that he'll converse to them once more as soon as they're in Somalia. After darkish, the United States Halliburton and USS Boxer arrive. Phillips tells Muse that he must take a piss, so Muse permits him to step out of the lifeboat. Bilal is already exterior. Phillips tells Bilal that the saltwater can be good for his injured foot, and when Bilal appears to be down to think about that, Phillips pushes him into the water, then jumps in himself. He begins swimming towards the Bainbridge, and the Navy crew members spot him and Bilal within the water. However, they're unable to establish if one of many two is Phillips, as a result of it's too darkish. Naji goals his rifle at Phillips and tries to kill him so he will not escape, however Muse orders him to tug again. Muse then jumps within the water and swims out to Phillips and makes an attempt to tug him again into the lifeboat. Phillips loses his shirt within the course of quite the threat being shot by Naji. Phillips decides to get again on the raft. As soon as he is on board, Naji kicks and punches him and Muse has to tug him off earlier than he kills Phillips. The SEALs have parachuted from the C-130 and arrive on the Bainbridge through rubber raft about 0400, about the identical time that Phillips has reboarded the lifeboat. A Navy helicopter flies over the lifeboat and lights from it and the ship illuminate the little boat. The Bainbridge CO orders Muse and his males to give up. Naji is upset that they're being bossed round a lot and he needs Muse to do one thing to reassert management of the scenario. Muse responds by grabbing Phillips and forcing him via the door, holding a pistol to his head. He then goals the pistol on the helicopter and fires off just a few rounds. The helo turns away and Muse and Phillips return inside. Muse then orders Bilal to get out the big yellow survivor go well with from the floorboards of the lifeboat, after which holds the pistol to Phillips's head once more. He then orders Phillips to talk into the radio and inform the CO that he's going to be shot and the survivor go well with can be used as a physique bag. The SEAL commander, Max Martini, assumes tactical command of the general operation and he speaks to Muse, informing him that he's the official negotiator on behalf of the individuals. He refers to his notes and begins naming every of the pirates and the place they're from. Muse and the others are very a lot alarmed by that. The negotiator additionally convinces them that elders from their tribe are being delivered to the Bainbridge and are going to help in arranging for the ransom for Captain Phillips. He says that they do not need the trade of Phillips for the cash to be witnessed by the elders. They usually need to conduct the negotiations out of sight of Phillips. The plan is to tow the lifeboat to the trade level. Naji advises Muse that it is an ambush. Nonetheless, Muse agrees to go over to the Bainbridge and meet with the Navy and the elders because the negotiations happen. The SEALs place themselves on the helicopter deck of the Bainbridge, armed with sniper rifles. Phillips tries once more to persuade Muse to surrender, earlier than they're killed. Muse responds, "I obtained bosses, they usually obtained guidelines." Phillips says, "All of us obtained bosses." Muse tells Phillips that the mission was purported to be easy. Hijack the ship, get the ransom, and no one would get harm, however that he'd come too far to surrender now. Phillips says, "There should be one thing apart from being a fisherman and kidnapping individuals," to which Muse replies, "Possibly in America, Irish." Possibly in America. A skiff from the Bainbridge goes out to the lifeboat to connect a tow rope and chews up Muse. In addition, they surreptitiously connect a listening machine to the skin of the lifeboat. Whereas there, a bag containing a yellow shirt is tossed over. It is a shirt for Phillips. The person tossing the shirt additionally advises Phillips that he ought to place on the shirt to maintain heat and to verify and keep seated in the identical seat he had been sitting in. He once more tells Phillips to remain in the identical seat, as they're leaving. The target of the SEAL snipers is to acquire confirmed sightings of every of the 3 pirates on the raft and take them out. Optimum sighting vary is 91 meters. The lifeboat is over 200 meters out, so it must be towed nearer. The SEAL staff commander orders excessive pace maneuvering, which requires the Halliburton and Bainbridge to journey the identical course, however considerably offset, at excessive pace. That may create a big wake that will bounce the lifeboat round. The negotiator then tells the pirates to steer within the wake of the Bainbridge to clean out the trip, which might then put the lifeboat in optimum place for the snipers. After the Bainbridge initiates the tow of the lifeboat, Phillips places his yellow shirt on. Elmi does not like the truth that Phillips is shifting round and Naji yells at Phillips to take a seat nonetheless. He tells Elmi that if Phillips strikes once more, to shoot him. The lads on the Bainbridge hear that. Because the Bainbridge tows the raft ever nearer, the SEAL snipers attempt however cannot get confirmed sightings of every of the 3 pirates. Phillips sees an ink pen on the ground and, after checking that he is not being checked out, shortly grabs the pen and begins to jot down one final word to his household on some scrap paper. Bilal sees him and pleads with him to cease or Naji will kill them each. Naji then sees Phillips writing and grabs the paper from him. This infuriates Phillips and he assaults Naji, pushing and punching him. Bilal and Elmi have to tug Phillips off Naji. Naji orders them to tie Phillips up. The SEAL staff commander orders the pace of the tow elevated as he realizes time could also be operating quick. Naji will get on the radio and calls for to know the place the elders are. He comes to comprehend that the elders aren't coming and the individuals have been deceiving all of them alongside. Believing they're all prone to die anyway, Naji prepares to execute Phillips. Males on the Bainbridge witness Phillips being strung up and blindfolded, and advise the SEAL staff commander. Phillips begs the pirates to surrender, to simply put their arms up. He pleads on behalf of Bilal, observing that Bilal is only a child. Naji ignores him. Phillips then begins asserting out loud that he loves his spouse, apologizing to her for his being on the market somewhat than residence together with her. By then, there are 2 confirmed sniper sightings of the pirates, Bilal and Elmi. However, Naji continues to be not in sight. The SEAL staff commander then orders the tow stopped. That causes Naji to stumble ahead and into view via a window. That gives a visible on all 3 pirates and the order to execute is carried out instantly. Blood sprays throughout Phillips and he screams. Every little thing then falls deathly quiet, the one sounds being Phillips's whimpering, as his blindfold falls from one eye and he's witness to the scene. He goes into shock. The order is given to take Muse down. He's instantly placed on the deck, cuffed and arrested. Muse asks if his pals have been killed. A Navy officer informs him that Captain Phillips is protected and the opposite three are lifeless. Muse hangs his head. Phillips is far away from the lifeboat and brought to the Bainbridge, the place he's handled for his wounds within the medical division of the Bainbridge by HMC O'Brien, a real-life Navy corpsman second class named Danielle Albert. The chief asks Phillips if he's harm and inspects his wounds, together with these on his face, head, underneath his arm, and round his wrists from being tied up. He has hassle responding to her. However, when she asks him all of the blood on him got here from his personal wounds, he appears incredulous that she would suppose so and says no. He turns into overwhelmed with shock and misery, and the chief and one other corpsman lay him down. Phillips asks if his household is aware of that he's protected, and the chief tells him that they know and he'll be capable to name them quickly. She assures him that everything can be okay. The epilogue states that Captain Richard Phillips was reunited along with his household on April 17, 2009. Abdwali Muse was charged with piracy and sentenced to 33 years the Federal Correctional Facility in Terre Haute, Indiana. In 2010, Captain Phillips went again to sea.